This pile of tools is such a mess, I knew I needed to figure out a way to organize them. So I grabbed a sheet of plywood and I traced the top of a garbage can so that it was a little bit bigger. And then I cut out the circle with a jigsaw and I sanded it. I used a level and I traced both sides of the level, starting from the center, working my way out of the circle. And then I made a grid with the level. I used a hole saw bit and I drilled where the X's were marked. I placed the plywood with the holes on it on top of the garbage can, and then I placed the tools inside. Now, how smart is that? I hope this inspires you to get creative with organizing your tools. This is the most useful thing you can do with a palette. This palette was a bit long, so I trimmed off the top and removed an extra board and screwed that extra board to the bottom of the palette. Next, I used 150 grit sandpaper to quickly sand the palette. I placed it on a spacer to help hold it up, and then I fastened it to the side of our shed with screws, making sure it was level. I removed the spacer and loaded it up with my garden and yard tools. This is what the side of my shed looked like before, and this is how organized it is with my new DIY palette tool organizer. What do you think? I hope this inspires you to get organized with palettes.
I have this small closet in the hallway that I thought would be fun to leave as an open space rather than enclosing it with a really tight, cramped door. I went to Lowe's and purchased several long pieces of 1x2s. Once I got these home, I stained them to the color of my choice. I made sure to stain the front and also the sides. My closet is about 16.5 inches in depth, so I cut my pieces down to 16 inches. Once they were cut, I made sure to stain the fronts of them as well, since these would be visible from the hallway once the pieces were installed. Starting from the top of my closet, I attached the wood pieces using a nail gun. I simply added a 1x2 piece with the flat edge down, then used another piece as a spacer, and installed the second piece underneath. I repeated this process, going down along the closet wall. I did make sure to stop a few times just to make sure that everything was level and that I hadn't gotten crooked along the way. Once I was done with that side, it was time to start on the other wall. Of course, you want to make sure that the wooden pieces are lining up on both sides so that any future shelving doesn't come out crooked. I simply used a wood board and lined a level up along it to make sure that it was level. Once that was done, I installed my wood pieces along that side wall as well. The next step was to add my shelving. I purchased 3/4 inch wood and stained this to match. I cut it to the exact dimensions I needed for my closet. Now I was able to slide the shelving in place. The great thing about this is I can easily move the shelving to whatever height I need. There's so many different options because I can use any single one of these side wood pieces as a different resting place for my shelf. I love the way this open closet looks, and the repositionable shelving makes it really practical and functional.
This weekend project, I'm going to go down to Walmart. I'm going to pick up a storage bin. I'm going to start with some free pallet boards that I picked up from a construction site. The way to remove these boards is super simple. I'm going to cut down the sides first. That way it doesn't break up the boards by trying to remove all the nails. Once I get both sides cut, I'm going to wiggle it around to loosen it from the center support. Using a crowbar, or what we call a wonder bar, I'm going to go up and down and remove these boards. Once I do that, I can turn them upside down to remove the nails. Pop them on one side, use the claw on the claw hammer, and take them out on the other side. Once I do that, I'm going to measure the width of the storage bin, the height, and then I'm also going to measure the depth. Once I get that, I'm going to start with the sides. I'm going to measure this 1x3 at 32 inches, and I'm going to give it a cut. I'm actually going to need 2 of these for one side and 2 for the other. Once I get these cut, then I can go ahead and start cutting the pallet boards. This is going to be 15 inches for the depth, and I'm going to cut multiple pieces of this. I like the bare look of the pallet boards, also the rustic look. Once I get all these cut to 15 inches, I'm going to separate them all the way up and down on the support boards. Remember, I'm doing one side at a time, and then I'm going to space the boards and make them look even. Using my nail gun, I'm going to go up and down and put a couple of brad nails in. Now the sides I'm going to hold together and put a few boards in the back. I put the sides next to the storage bin so I got the perfect width. Once I get these brad nailed in, then it's time to work on the top. These are going to be the larger, wider boards. I only need 3 of them. Once I get those brad nailed on both sides and secured, I'm then going to have to put the middle and the end boards in. This will help me space them out correctly. Again, using that brad nail, I love it. I can secure all the sides while it's spaced out, and it's actually getting really strong as I'm putting it together. Again, this is just separated around. Now I need a bottom board also, and that's going to make it even stronger. I also need a shelf that I'm going to build in order to put the storage in. I took the drawers out, slid it in, make sure it fits just right, and put the drawers back in. They actually slide really nice. Now I'm going to put some trim pieces on the side to cover up some of the edges, and then I'm going to give it one more test to make sure those drawers close good. Once I get that done, it's time to bring it inside, and look at it. All decorated. It's the perfect height to fit under the window. I love it. It stores our blankets in the living room, little decor on top, and I love the rustic look of it. I got the nail holes to show and some of the stamps that come on the side of the pallets. It actually turned out really great, and I hope it inspired you to go ahead and grab that storage bin from Walmart and make it your own and build a nice frame for it.
The first step is disassembling the pallets. If you've never tried this, you're in for quite a workout. You can use a crowbar to pry the boards off, but I found the best way to keep the boards from splitting was to hammer them out from the undersides. After you've removed the boards, you have to remove the nails. Tap a few times with the hammer from the bottom, then pull out the rest of the way. I was actually able to reuse these nails to assemble the potting bench, making it a completely free project. Don't worry if your boards split. Only half the board will be used. Add a support board to the pallet that will serve as the back of the potting bench. Now you can start cutting. I cut 2x4s from the disassembled pallets to serve as the legs and the frame for the work area. Be sure to watch carefully for nails. After you've got the frame cut, you can chop down the boards that will serve as your work area. Now time to assemble the legs. I drilled a small pilot hole, then used a hammer and nails to assemble. Use a piece of scrap wood to keep your boards level. Once you have your 2 legs assembled, you can attach to the large pallet back. I did this entire project myself, so I had to set up a second pallet to hold the leg in place while attaching. After you've attached the legs, move your potting bench into place. This is a lot easier if you have help, but not impossible if you're working solo. You'll add one last 2x4 to the front, then it's time to start attaching the boards. I opted to use a nail gun at this point, but you can continue with a hammer and nails as well. Lastly, I ran a sander over the work surface and added a few nails to hang tools from. And I was done!